My name is Lauren Whitmore. I'm 36 years old. And I didn't realize my marriage had already fractured until my phone buzzed with a message that sounded considerate. At my mom's. Signal's bad here. Might be late getting home. Don't wait up. I stared at the screen longer than necessary, not because the message itself was alarming, but because of how practiced it felt. Polite, efficient, designed to end the conversation before it could begin. I was sitting at his mother's dining table. Across from me, Diane Whitmore, my mother-in-law of 8 years, was cutting into a slice of pot roast, steam rising between us. The house smelled like rosemary and onions. Comfort food. Familiar food. The kind of meal you eat when everything in your life feels stable. Everything okay? She asked, noticing the way my hand had frozen midair. I swallowed. Yeah, just Mark. I turned my phone around and showed her the text. She blinked once, then again. That's strange, she said slowly. He's here? No, I said. He says he is. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The ticking clock in the hallway suddenly felt loud, each second landing like a small accusation. I've been here since 5, she said quietly. I've been cooking since 3. I nodded. I know. Mark and I had been married for 8 years. We met in our mid-20s at a mutual friend's party. Nothing dramatic, nothing cinematic. Just two people who clicked easily. We dated for 2 years, got married at City Hall with immediate family and a borrowed bouquet. No choreographed vows, no viral proposal video, just a promise we meant at the time. He worked in HR for a tech company. I worked in construction project management. Long hours, spreadsheets, deadlines that didn't care how you felt. Our lives were busy, but aligned. Or at least I thought they were. 6 months ago, things started shifting. Not in obvious ways. Not in ways you could point to and say that's the moment everything went wrong. It was smaller than that. Mark started guarding his phone, not hiding it exactly, just angling the screen away, smiling at texts he wouldn't explain. When I asked, he said, just work, or someone from the office. Fair enough, everyone deserves privacy. Then came the late nights, 2, sometimes 3 a week, performance reviews, hiring cycles, HR emergencies that couldn't wait. I'd keep dinner warm, eat alone if he was too late, tell myself this was adulthood. But the visits to his mom's house, that was the part that didn't fit. Diane lived about 40 minutes away. They'd always been close. Weekly visits were normal. What wasn't normal was when weekly turned into constant. 3 or 4 times a week, always for hours. She needs help reorganizing, he'd say. Old paperwork, closets, just stuff. I can come, I'd offer. No, he'd answer quickly. It's mother-son stuff. I didn't push. Diane was a widow. If she wanted her son around, who was I to argue? Last Tuesday changed everything. Diane had called that morning, asking if I could help move some furniture after work. Heavy pieces she couldn't manage alone. Of course, I said, I'll be there around 6. Perfect, she replied. I'll make dinner. You can stay. Should I tell Mark to meet us there? I asked. There was a pause. Tell who? She said. My husband. Another pause. Shorter, sharper. Oh, he's probably busy. Don't worry about it. Something in her tone felt off. I ignored it. Now, sitting across from her, phone still glowing in my hand, that unease came rushing back. He tells you he's here? She asked softly. Yeah, I said, a lot. Her face drained of color. How often? 3 or 4 times a week. She closed her eyes. Oh, Lauren. My chest tightened. I typed back automatically. Give your mom my love. Then, without thinking, I opened our location sharing. We'd set it up years ago for safety. A practical thing. A married adult thing. The dot loaded. Mark wasn't at his mother's house. He wasn't anywhere near it. He was across town, at an address I didn't recognize. I turned the screen toward Diane. She stared at it for a long time. Do you know where that is? She asked. No. She pushed her chair back and stood. Do you want to find out? My voice came out steadier than I felt. Yes. She grabbed her coat. I'm coming with you. And in that moment, sitting in a quiet dining room that had just turned into a crime scene of lies, I understood something with terrifying clarity. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a system, and I was about to see exactly how it worked. The truck felt too quiet once we pulled away from Diane's house. No radio, no small talk, just the low hum of the engine and the occasional click of the turn signal as I followed the GPS. The blue line on my phone stretched across the screen like a verdict already decided. Diane sat rigid in the passenger seat, her hands folded in her lap so tightly her knuckles had gone pale. She gave directions only when the GPS lagged. Short, clipped phrases, as if too many words might break something she was still trying to hold together. I kept glancing at the location dot. It hadn't moved. "He's been there a while," I said quietly, more to myself than to her. Diane nodded once. "Long enough." We drove 40 minutes across town, leaving behind the neighborhoods I knew by heart. The streets grew cleaner, newer. Townhouses lined up neatly, identical facades lit with warm yellow porch lights. The kind of place people moved into when they were starting fresh, or hiding something they didn't want crossing paths with their real life. The GPS chimed softly. "Arrived." Diane lifted her chin and pointed through the windshield. "That one." A townhouse at the end of the row, lights on in the living room, curtains half drawn, and a black sedan in the driveway. My stomach dropped. I knew that car. I'd seen it once before, at a company event Mark had dragged me to last year. Casual introductions, laughter over cheap wine. He'd introduced the woman as a coworker, someone he collaborated with occasionally. At the time, she'd barely registered, just another face in a crowded room. Now, the recognition felt like a slap. I parked across the street and cut the engine. The silence returned, heavier this time. Diane exhaled shakily. "Do you want me to go knock?" "No," I said immediately, opening my door. "I'll do it." She didn't argue. She just followed me out anyway. Each step up the walkway felt surreal, like my body was moving faster than my mind could catch up. I knocked once. Firm. Controlled. Footsteps inside. The door opened. The woman from the party stood there, a beer bottle in her hand. Casual clothes. Comfortable. Her expression shifted rapidly. Friendly confusion, then recognition, then naked panic. "Oh," she said. Is my husband here?" I asked. She hesitated. "I don't—" "His car is in your driveway," I said evenly. "His phone says he's inside your house, so I'll ask again." She stepped back. And there he was. Mark stood in the living room, a wine glass in his hand, frozen mid-step like a child caught doing something unforgivable. His face drained of color the moment he saw me. "Lauren," he said, "what are you—" "Bad signal at your mom's?" I cut in. Behind me, Diane stepped into view. Mark's eyes flicked to her, then back to me. His mouth opened, closed. For a second, no one spoke. The silence was thick, humiliating, devastating. "I can explain," he finally said. Diane's voice was quiet, but it sliced through the room. "You will, but not here." She turned to him fully then, and I saw something in her expression I'd never seen before. Not anger, not disbelief, but grief. The kind that comes when a truth rewrites your memories against your will. "Get your things," she said. "You're coming with us." "I'm not," Mark started. "You are," she interrupted, steel creeping into her tone. "Or I will drag you out myself." That was the end of the argument. Mark grabbed his phone, his jacket, his keys. He didn't look at the woman as he walked past her. She started to speak, eyes darting between us. "I didn't know," she said weakly. "Yes, you did," I replied. "You met me. You knew he was married." She said nothing after that. We walked back to the truck in silence. Mark climbed into the back seat like a teenager being driven home after getting caught doing something stupid and irreversible. As I pulled away, my hands were shaking, but my voice, when it finally came, was calm. "How long?" Behind me, Mark started crying. 6 months. Diane repeated it softly, like she needed to hear it twice. 6 months. And in that moment, with the truth finally out in the open, I realized something else. This wasn't going to be a single confrontation. This was just the beginning of everything falling apart. The first 10 minutes of the drive home passed in silence. Mark cried quietly in the back seat, the kind of restrained sobbing that comes from someone trying not to make things worse by being too loud about how badly they've already failed. Diane stared straight ahead, jaw clenched, her reflection pale in the windshield. I kept my eyes on the road. "How long have you been using your mother as an alibi?" I asked finally. Mark's answer was barely above a whisper. "Since almost the beginning." 6 months, I said. 3 or 4 times a week. "Yes." Diane closed her eyes. "You lied to both of us," she said, her voice breaking despite her effort to keep it steady. "You let me cook for you, talk about you, worry about you, while you were somewhere else." "I didn't mean to drag you into it," Mark said quickly. "It just started that way." "Don't," I snapped. "Don't minimize it. This wasn't something that started. This was something you maintained, carefully." He didn't respond. "And the late nights at work?" I asked. "Was that her too?" "Some of them," he admitted. "Not all." I laughed once, sharp, humorless. "Congratulations. I guess that's supposed to help." When we reached our house, Diane asked me to drop her off first. You two need to deal with this, she said, opening the door. Then she leaned back in, looking directly at me. You call me tomorrow. I want to know you're okay. She didn't look at her son. I nodded. I will. The rest of the drive was quiet. At home, Mark hovered in the doorway, like he didn't know what room he was allowed to occupy anymore. Can we talk? He asked. No, I said. You can sleep in the guest room. Please don't shut me out. You don't get to ask me for anything right now. He went without arguing. I locked our bedroom door, sat on the edge of the bed, and let the night collapse around me. Every memory suddenly felt compromised. Every late dinner, every don't wait up, every casual lie that now had weight and shape and consequences. Around midnight, my phone buzzed. I'm sorry, I know that doesn't fix anything. I didn't respond. The next morning, I moved through my routine like muscle memory alone was carrying me. Shower, coffee, work clothes. When I came downstairs, Mark was already in the kitchen. He looked like he hadn't slept. Are you going to divorce me? He asked quietly. I stopped. I don't know, I said honestly. Probably, maybe. I haven't decided. Please don't, he said, tears pooling again. It was a mistake. A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk, I replied. This was 6 months of choices. At work, I couldn't focus. Numbers blurred. Conversations felt distant. Around lunch, Diane called. I'm so sorry, she said. I had no idea. It's not your fault, I told her. He made his choices, she said. And whatever you decide, you don't owe him anything. When I got home that evening, Mark had cooked dinner, set the table, opened a bottle of wine like we were rehearsing normal. I ended it, he said quickly. This morning. I told her it was over. Good for you, I said flatly. I want to fix this. I don't know if you can. And for the first time since the night before, he didn't argue. The week that followed didn't feel like time moving forward. It felt like suspension. Mark and I existed in the same house like distant relatives forced to share space. He spoke carefully, as if every word might set off something explosive. I answered in fragments, short sentences, closed doors. I slept in the guest room. I came home late from work. I avoided eye contact when I could. Diane called every couple of days. Those conversations, quiet, honest, unguarded, were the only moments that felt real. You don't have to save this, she told me once. Trying doesn't make you noble. Leaving doesn't make you weak. 10 days after everything came out, I walked into the living room after work and found Diane sitting on the couch. Mark stood in the kitchen, hands clasped, eyes red. She asked me to come, Diane said. She wants to talk. Mark stepped forward. I need to say something, to both of you. I sat. Diane sat beside me. Mark stayed standing, wringing his hands like he needed the discomfort. I betrayed you, he said. Both of you. I lied. I used my own mother as cover, and there's no excuse for that. He paused, swallowing hard. I've been trying to understand why I did it. I felt invisible, in my job, in my life, and when someone paid attention to me, I grabbed it. That's not an excuse, I said. I know, he replied. It's just the truth. Diane spoke then, her voice steady but wounded. I love you. You're my son. But I am ashamed of you. Mark broke down completely. I don't know if you two should fix this, she continued, but I do know that if you're going to move forward, together or apart, you have to be honest about what you want. She stood, turned to me. You deserve better than this. Then she left. That night, Mark and I talked. Really talked. I think we should separate, I said. He nodded. Okay. He moved out 2 days later. I changed the locks, changed passwords, changed the shape of my life. The house felt empty, but peaceful. 4 months have passed since the night everything collapsed. 4 months of therapy, his, mine, eventually ours. 4 months of difficult conversations, disclosures, timelines, and emotional postmortems. 4 months of Mark doing everything I asked him to do. Full phone access, location sharing always on, no deleted messages, no unexplained plans. He quit his job, found another one across town, cut off contact with her completely, moved out of his mother's house after a month, and rented a small apartment 20 minutes away. On paper, he did everything right. But nobody tells you this part about betrayal. Trust doesn't come back all at once. It comes back warped, if it comes back at all. Every time Mark was late, every time his phone buzzed, every time he hesitated before answering a question, something in my chest tightened. I hated who I was becoming. I hated that I checked his location without thinking, that I asked follow-up questions I didn't want the answers to, that peace now required proof. He hated it too. I could see it, how carefully he chose his words, how patiently he handed over his phone, how the frustration flickered just beneath the surface when he realized this was the consequence he couldn't escape. Last week, our couples therapist asked us the same question. Do you want this marriage to survive? Yes, Mark said instantly. I hesitated. I want it to survive, I said, but I don't know if I can trust him again. How long would it take? She asked. I don't know, I admitted. A year, 2, maybe forever. That's not fair to either of you, she said gently. I know, I replied, but neither was 6 months of lying. We left without an answer. Diane still calls me every week. Sometimes we get lunch, just the two of us. You gave him 8 years of honesty, she told me recently. He gave you 6 months of deception. You don't owe him more time just because he's sorry. But what if we can fix it? I asked. She didn't sugarcoat her reply. And what if you can't? Last night, Mark asked if we could have dinner together, at the house. Just dinner, he said, no expectations. I agreed. He cooked. We talked about neutral things, work, weather, a movie he'd seen. For a moment, just a moment, it felt almost normal. Then his phone buzzed on the counter. My stomach clenched. He noticed immediately. It's my mom, he said, sliding the phone toward me. She's asking how dinner's going. I nodded. I'm sorry. He sighed. I know, but this is the problem, Lauren. It might never be okay again. And he was right. I'm 36 years old, separated from my husband, standing in the space between staying and leaving, between love and self-preservation. I still love him, but love doesn't guarantee safety. Trust, once broken, doesn't heal clean. It heals crooked, if it heals at all, with scars that ache when the weather changes. And I'm starting to understand something difficult and honest. Sometimes you can love someone and still choose to leave. Sometimes staying isn't strength, and sometimes walking away isn't failure. Maybe this is the ending, or maybe it's just the hard middle. I don't know yet. And for now, that uncertainty is the most truthful thing I can offer.